We'll talk about it.
Go ahead.
Hello. Welcome. Good to have y'all here. Thank y'all for being here on a Monday for our what used to be Messy Monday. Now it's Lego Master Monday. And you'll see we have guests with us today. Sam is a returning guest. Sam, thank you for hanging out with us today. You were fool enough to come back, so thanks. And Louis, we are glad you are here. I'm sorry for the next hour, an hour and 20 minutes.
No problem. You're forgiven in advance.
All right, good deal. Thank you for being here. Let's see. We got some. Grumpy J has already been here. Hello, Grumpy J, and battery powered bricks. So some more of our friends will be rolling in here in a minute. Louis, this is your first time here with us. We need to know what your Lego journey is and how you got on Lego Masters. Without revealing, your anything that you're not supposed to. But just tell us about your Lego journey, who you are, and then your journey to the show.
Yeah, so I'm just a regular guy from Miami, father of two. I started playing with Lego as it's the first memory I have of playing with toys, actually. So as long as I can remember, I've been playing with Lego. I did go through a dark ages like a lot of people. And my kids rescued me from that. Being a father, I still dabble every now and then, buy a set here or there, but it wasn't until, I had kids that I got really back into it, and then started mock building and all that. So, and as far as the show goes, just watching season 1 during quarantine with my daughter, and she's like, "You gotta try out for that." I'm like, "There's no way. I could never do that. I'm not at that level." And they reached out to me actually after I had created an Instagram account and posted some stuff they built. They reached out to me for season 2, for season 3, and again for season 4. And finally it worked out. So all of those who have tried and haven't made it, I would definitely recommend keep trying, because it's a once in a lifetime experience. And I think even from whoever gets to the end, and I'm sure Brad and Mike would agree that no matter how long you're there, it's an amazing experience. So I recommend it to everybody. Keep trying if you haven't been able to get on.
Emily. Hello, Emily.
Emily. Her voice is probably still sore from yelling Christopher so many times.
That was many months ago. I'm sure it's still sore from that.
Before we even get into this, can we just all talk about how this episode was the best episode ever because Emily got to mock Will in the best way possible?
Oh, totally threw down, busted on him hard. So let me ask y'all, you guys are in the room when they're doing the little shots with him at the different tables. Can y'all hear what they're doing and all this kind of stuff? Or
not all. It's hard to hear the actual word. You can see it, but you can't always hear it. If they're close to you, you can hear it, but it's tough.
She had me rolling through this whole episode.
How's that?
What's that, Sam?
Oh, sorry. I said it kind of depends on what table you're at, right? Like I can kind of hear the person beside us, right? But like where we were kind of across the way from where Emily and Kelly were at. So I had no idea.
It definitely gets easier to hear what's happening the further you go. Obviously, there's less people, there's less camera, there's less everything. But early on, not only is there a lot of people, but you're also extremely hyper focused.
Yeah.
So you just don't even notice sometimes what's happening, even the table next to you. But things like that, especially when when there's less people and Will's calling out, "Hey, Emily, come here." You kind of look up and start paying attention. So you start to enjoy those moments a little more, and they happen more often when there's less people because he can focus on less. There's less people to focus on, so it becomes a little more fun. I have to say, the longer you're on there.
She says, "I heard Will play a prank on Lewis and Alex. What is that all about?"
Oh, Emily, I don't know if I can even. I don't know, Sam. What do you think? Can I don't know if I'm crossing a line here, but I won't put you on the spot, Sam. So if
I'm sorry. I was going to say, if you don't tell it, I will, because that was
okay. All right.
Good. There you go. Go ahead. There you have it.
I don't know. I wish it hadn't been prefaced with the prank, because if I told the story without saying it's a prank, it's better. But it happened to be April 1st, which was the furthest thing from my mind that it was April 1st. We were building that day, and Will comes in for our check-in with me and Alex, and he starts, normal check-in like anything, and then he has someone there who kind of, suggesting things maybe to say or whatever, and he goes, "Do you think that's funny?" And the guy's like, "I thought it was funny, but you don't have to say it." And they just get this whole thing, and it starts escalating, and they start fighting. And go ahead, Sam.
One thing I'd point out is that, obviously Poppy and Ben had to go home. There was some health issues. We know that this was like a COVID incident, right? So this, like that amount of isolation threw us behind on the schedule. So normally we're filming like challenges Monday to Friday. Saturday we're in there doing talking heads. Sunday we have the day off. So the schedule was thrown off to such an extent that April 1st was a Saturday. We're filming an episode and filming a build challenge on a Saturday, which is a big thing. This is typically outside of Will Arnett's working days. So,
yeah, that's true. It was also, so that was part of the thing. I'm being very light on details on purpose. But there was someone there from the crew that he works with, and they start going at it. And just like saying, if you don't want to be here because it's a Saturday, well, I don't want to be here either. And he's like, well, I don't have to be here. He's like, fine, leave. And he throws his stuff down on the floor. He walks off. Will's freaking out. He's talking to in his ear to the producer, saying this is, and he's like leaves, and he's like, I'm gonna come and do this check-in all over again. And I'm like, please don't come back. Like at this point, I was just mortified. I was like sweating. Like, this is so awkward. I can't do a normal check-in now. And he comes in and he goes, "April Fools." I can't say what he said, but
you can hear a pin drop in that studio at that point. Like no one was in on it except for Will and Bob. We were like, what's going on? Like we thought it was like Christian Bale freaking out on that camera operator. Like,
obviously he was in on it, and it was a prank all the way, but we didn't know that time.
No phones were thrown, like with what's his name from Australia.
Yeah, no. So some things were thrown, but it was all for fun. But that, I think that's a good example though of some of the things that you guys don't get to see. There's just a lot of fun that happens on the set. A lot of it Will has no intention of it being on TV, because obviously the things he's saying will never be on TV. Not that he says bad things, but it's just a different kind of humor. So there's a lot of fun that was had that you guys don't get to see, and it made it that much.
Well, we know that most of Emily's reaction comments could never be aired on TV, so we understand that type of scenario.
I think Emily did a lot of that on purpose.
I don't think she has a filter. I don't think there's any control. I don't think there's an on or off button. It's just all Emily all the time. She knew that a few inappropriate words here or there would cut out a certain piece of usable footage. So she was strategic in that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, she was on here. She told us about that. It seemed like, and talking to Emily, she said that by the time this episode aired, she was very, 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 very tired. Talk to us about the exhaustion level, because you guys are nonstop. You guys are you've been working hard. The stress is getting down to 5 teams and all this kind of stuff. The stress level's up. You guys have been going at it with not a lot of sleep. You could tell. I think some of her making fun of Will was like, "Will, dang it, leave me alone." I felt that in what she was doing. So Tell me about both of you. Tell me about the energy level where you guys were right at this episode.
Well, I think there's times where you welcome the check-in, especially if you get to happen a Amy and Jamie check-in that's early is always great. But then there's times where you're so focused, like you're in a groove, and that check-in is not ideal in the time, and that's just part of the game, and that's part of the challenge. That's part of everybody's got to deal with that. And I think Emily was not in that frame of mind at that moment, but it is a grind. It's a long day because even before we can get on set, you're there for several hours just getting ready, whether it's wardrobe and hair and makeup, all that stuff. No hair here, but I actually did go to hair every morning, and they would check my hair, rub my head, make sure it was okay to go.
They had a specific like bowling ball shiner just for Lewis. They just kind of dip his head in there every day.
Did they pay you extra if they had to rub your head?
No, it was free. It was a nice free head rub, but I did have to go every morning to hair because I did have to shave my head and make sure that they wanted to make sure it was shaved the same way every day.
So you really did have to go to hair and makeup, even though, like
I did. I did makeup. I did
You
makeup,
don't
but when I
have-
leave the makeup chair, I'd have to go to the hair, and they'd literally do like a 5-second rub, and then off I'd go.
So let me ask this question. I've heard from other seasons cast members that some of the wake up calls are ridiculously early to go to hair and makeup. Is there was there any kind of did they rotate who had to get up earliest, or was it by age, or was it like you had to draw straws, or
No, it's there's a call time, and everybody's got to be down there at a certain time, and we all go together, and we all come back together.
so you all went down at the same time, basically?
Pretty much.
Okay.
There's an exception, but pretty much other than that exception, we all leave together, and we
Okay.
all leave the studio together.
Got it.
Within intervals of seconds, like they bring all the cars and then we all get in, and but pretty much everyone's
Well, like, if
arriving
you're-
and leaving together.
There's it. Obviously, you get an earlier call time when there's more people to run through hair and makeup, right? There's only so many chairs available for people to do it, so you're hurry up and wait, right? Like you get an early call time, but then you're just sitting waiting for your chance to get into hair and makeup for a while. Like,
So was there any cast members who could just like dead out take a nap in the waiting area? Like it didn't matter like what kind of noise was
Number one on that list is Christopher.
Chris, Christopher can sleep anywhere, anytime. I've seen this guy just like out like a light with a
He would go into like this. He would go into this like reboot mode.
Yeah.
Like every time he'd hit the couch in the green room, just like you'd see him power down, you'd see a little progress bar going on the top that he's rebooting, and then he'd wake up and just continue going.
He's got 2 modes, on and off, and that's it.
It appeared to me that I would refer to Christopher in my line of work as being overclocked, where things are happening at a much faster rate for him than for everybody else, so that it sounds completely in par with people I know like him, where when he's got downtime, he just shuts down. And once he comes back on, he's like a refreshed cat. So yeah, that speaks volumes about him just in general. And
Definitely.
It makes sense. It fits his personality type.
I remember we had a meeting early on. This is in the hotel before, and we had a Zoom call that we had to do. And Christopher is still buying Lego sets and still adding to his collection that's thousands of miles away. And I'm like, it's like, when you go to dinner and you eat so fast that your mom tells you, hey, enjoy, you're supposed to enjoy that. That was Christopher. I remember seeing him build some sets, like it's 15 minutes. He's done with like a set that you might take 2 hours or 3 hours to build. And he was like doing it, like doing the Zoom call, like just rushing through it. I'm like, dude, take your time. You're supposed to enjoy that. And it's like, nope.
You've got 9,000 sets under your belt, and you know that Lego is producing more and more. Oh,
You
no,
had
you
no
don't have
time.
time. You don't have time. You got to keep rolling.
He would he's doing like YouTube reviews and whatever constantly. I think that while we were shooting, he was still trying to do like live streams and stuff like that. So
He was,
the BTS set just came out. This was like exotic pink parrot, blue parrot, and the it was one of the other ones with the snake and the little tower. I don't know the specifics, but it was those 3 that he was building during that Zoom call, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. Like I don't know, maybe an hour to build all 3, which I think is like, as much as as Lewis says, like, oh, you got to enjoy it. I think that's a reasonable time for building some.
I mean,
some
everybody
sets.
enjoys it their own way. I'm not saying he didn't enjoy it, but I'm
Yeah,
just making
first rule Lego. Everybody Legos differently, but you can totally tell that fits Christopher perfectly.
Yeah.
Totally.
And he still had to get those things home, thousands of miles across the country.
Yeah, but for him, if they fall apart and break, he's just going to go back home and rebuild them again. And he probably has it clocked into his head and his muscle memory, and he's probably got some identity.
Absolutely, that's one thing that Christopher helped him on the show. As somebody who said he wasn't really a mock builder. Those techniques that he goes over once in these builds, they stay in there, and he's able to replicate them and produce them. So it's no surprise that he did such an amazing job on the show, and some of his builds were beautiful because he just
that's the thing we've talked about. Muscle memory seems to be the thing that lasts you through the show, that you can go, even if you're tired, I got to build this mountain. I know the bricks to put down, and muscle memory build that thing. Yeah. Mark and Steven had it, all this kind of stuff. So, and that's one of the things we are noticing, that we were wondering about Christopher when he joined the show, because he is not a mock builder, but he has a different type of muscle memory. If he can bank all that skill, he can pop it back out and throw it back down, and that's pretty amazing. I'm gonna be straight up and honest.
So yeah, what it is and it helps him out a ton, and that was what he said got him through quite a bit of it, right? Was the not necessarily memorization, but just kind of like being able to go back to techniques that he's used before. I mentioned like that time that he was building Lego early in the competition was before we filmed the boat challenge. And then in the boat challenge, his little dancing dudes on the pitch party was the exact mechanism from the BTS set. Right? Because he's like, oh, I need some people dancing and the little spinning thing. Okay, well, here we go. Let's just lift that, put it in there. The next one with the cat challenge, he used the dragon party up and down guys. Like it works, man. And like it's the skill comes from taking that technique that you know and then being able to apply it to different situations and scenarios and be able to use it in a creative and different way, which it continues to do.
Here's the thing that's impressive about that to me is I build a lot of sets myself, but I don't think I could do it from memory after building the set just one time. Like there have been times where I thought, ooh, if I wanted to use that technique, I'd need to pull the instructions back out to remind myself the way that it sequences together. But apparently he didn't need to do that because
I think that's true. I think that's true of most people. I think that's how most people are. Christopher, it's not muscle memory is that repetition, right? You repeat, and you start to memorize it. Christopher, I think, has an ability to just memorize. It just stays in his brain.
It's like that. It's adaptive photographic memory type scenario where he can remember that technique having seen it once.
I think he deserves to be studied. I think that.
I think apologizing, Chris, much here, just because I can tell you, there's a roller coaster challenge, and as we've all seen in the previews,
no spoil. Yeah, I was gonna say no spoilers. No spoilers.
I think that's fair game. That's fair game now.
If I was on a roller coaster challenge, I tell you, I'd spend a lot of time looking at roller coaster instructions when I'm not filming, and I guarantee you that Chris spent a lot of time looking at BTS set instructions while he wasn't filming.
There is downtime.
So, he's a human. He's a human being. He's a man. You know.
But again, but to that point though, he knew the set he had built to go and maybe refresh in his memory. However, he refreshed it, and by building tons and tons of sets, it gives you that. Like for example, I took apart the Ninjago City Gardens today. I will be going back to those instructions. Even though I didn't build it because it was given to me, so I'm tearing it apart. But just tearing it apart, just walking through the unique NPU through that whole thing, is a treasure trove that I will go back and look at because there's so many great techniques in that build. And Christopher has way more experience in sets that he's built than I have to know that kind of thing to go back and look for. So definitely
100%. All I'm saying is like I won't dispute the fact that Chris is a very talented human, right? But it is very much like the talent comes from being able to remember, okay, I have built a set with this kind of mechanism in it. Right. I want to achieve this same thing. I'm going to go back and I'm going to double check how that's
Yeah.
done. It's not 100% memorization. Like, I know this because he and I were looking up a lot of set instructions together.
Truth has been revealed.
So I'm not going to ask you to reveal things, but I've talked to other cast members from previous seasons, and they talked about how 8 hours was split across 2 days in 4, or 16 hours was 2 8-hour days, or 3 6-hour days, whatever the case may be. And I've often wondered about, I've watched some other shows. So, for example, when I watched another on Project Runway, they had a very strict rule that none of the designers were allowed to have pattern books in their rooms. And someone actually got kicked off the show for once having a pattern book. So it sounds like you had carte blanche in the non-filming time to consult things. Is that fair?
If I say too much, I'm sure Moto's fingers are going to catch fire in the chat. But what I will say is that, when they say we'd like you to build a roller coaster, which is something that's not the easiest thing to do, we're making a TV show here. And it's not a fun TV show if you get 4 roller coasters that don't work. So they might say something, right? So they might be like, maybe be a good idea to look into how to build a roller coaster, maybe. Like,
well, I do know in season 1, talking to Boone and to Tyler and to some of that crew, they didn't have the restrictions. Oh, we have a guest coming in there. Look at there's Tim. Hey,
Happy Thanksgiving.
What's up,
Hey,
Big
man.
Tim?
Wait,
Don't
Jeff,
enrage-
you want to say Thanksgiving?
Don't
was
enrage
earlier
our
this month?
Canadians like that. Don't
What's
enrage.
that?
I was going to say,
Looking good, Lewis.
yeah, Jeff usually chimes in when we say something
Pretty good, Billy Ray.
that it was earlier this month. So.
Let me ask one. I never see devices in any of the film shots. Are you allowed to look at something on your phone while you're building? Or
No.
You don't have it while you're building. On
You do
set,
not have.
those-
There are no
Yeah.
references, no phone, no nothing. You,
Okay.
You bring in whatever you bring in your memory.
Okay.
That's whatever you maybe study on your own time. That's fine, but it's got to be in your head.
Yeah.
You cannot bring
Season
anything
1,
with you.
Could you draw it on your arm and then pull your sleeve up? And like,
I didn't. I don't know. Maybe somebody else did, but I didn't.
I got it tattooed on me, actually.
sweet.
you got all the snot rolls tattooed right through there.
Now Emily told us about them getting matching tattoos. Maybe that's why, because they had to, pull up each other's shirt and be like, oh yeah, that's how it fits together.
Matt, that was off camera, just so you know.
Oh, everyone's gonna draw a line.
Well,
Okay, now we need the NDA banner.
you could skip over this part.
That's right. Skip over this part. Season 1, though, Boone and them were telling me that they were able to go out every night. They weren't filming. Anytime they weren't filming and they weren't on the studio, they went to the Lego stores and all that kind of stuff. They would buy sets and go into their rooms, and even just like a group of them together were sitting there building and trying things out to then remember that to take it to studio the next day. So yeah, when the cameras aren't on you, as long as you're within rules, you can do what you want. So.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
listen,
one thing that I'll mention about that is that a lot has changed between the filming of season 1 and the filming of season 3, 4, 5, right? COVID was a big thing. So you're not exactly, walking over to the Lego store or driving over, getting a ride share. 2, it's filmed in a different location than where Tyler and Boone filmed, right? It's
there's a Target right there. I know where it is.
Yeah.
We know where it's
but yes, that's true. I'm pretty sure everybody went out to that Target near where we were filming and picked up a Lego set or 4 while we were there.
Yeah. By the way, there's a store called Second and Charles near there that has like a pick table that you can pick bricks off of. By the way, I didn't know you guys.
I found that out after the fact, but that may have been useful. Sure, if I'd known that.
So I know we only have 5 builds to go through, but maybe at this halfway mark, we might want to just talk about the builds real quick, and then we can.
Yeah. Let's talk about the challenges. By the way, our Canadian friend wanted us to talk about this, about Amy's eyes.
I could not unsee this as soon as I get it matches her outfit, but that was I hate to say it, the most horrendous facial pink I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but Amy has been all about Friends colors in her outfits and her makeup through this whole season. So I don't know if you caught that until now.
Amy,
Well, I don't know.
I agree with Jeff. Amy looks very put together all the time, but
Yeah.
this was a fashion foul.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it. So I'm going to pull up my gay card here and say, go sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes. It did not work. Whoever put it on her should be ashamed.
Well, I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to critique it. So Amy is great. Amy's personality is amazing. So I don't know. I didn't think twice about it. So I thought,
you know what? Okay, so I'll comment. If we're talking about 20-year cycles in terms of fashion trends, like early 2000s is due for a comeback at any second here. So, maybe in 3 or 4 years we'll look at this and think maybe not too bad. But right now,
ahead of our time.
a little much.
Yeah. While we buy our Sun Ace ski jackets, yeah.
I kept staring above her eyes. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, let's go.
Show the picture. I never even thought about it because it didn't even register while I was watching the show.
Okay, I'm pulling your seems like your gay
But
card.
at the same time, though, I was sorting at the same time, and so I was really not focusing on viewing until we got to the actual builds.
There it is. That's what it was. It was Mimi from the old Drew Carey show, and that is very accurate. I don't know what happened.
That
to
is
Jeff,
not accurate at all. I mean, they do not compare.
Oh no! In any other way, no, they do not. They do not. I don't know what happened to Jeff, but anyway, so let's go ahead and let's look at the. All right, let's talk about the competition first. What did you guys think? Limited. This was the first I've ever seen limited part build, which was really darn cool, I would say. And then you had to, you kind of had to pick your mishmash of bricks and all that kind of stuff. Was that a difficult pick? How did those picks go? And then what do you guys think in the chat? And also you guys as contestants, what did you think about this challenge as a whole? I kind of thought it was kind of great. So
I will start off by saying something that I think is relevant because I've seen a lot of comments about, how much it hurt us to pick last. And I will say that Alex and I picked exactly what we wanted to get. Those are the two builds that we wanted to get. So that was not a factor for us. However, from the distance that we were at, again, I won't speak for anyone else, but at least for Alex and I, our primary consideration from the distance that we were at was really just color. It's what we could see. We don't know what parts were in it. We could get a rough idea of what parts maybe were used to construct it, but it was far enough away, at least for me in my sight, that I couldn't really tell you exactly what parts, but I could see the colors, and that was our primary motivator. I thought the challenge was a lot of fun. As a video game player and somebody who has kids who play video games, I was really psyched about that challenge, and I think the limited bricks thing is cool. I think it might have been interesting to see what each team would have done with the same limited parts, but that wasn't the challenge, and everybody had their own unique set of parts, and that was fun too. I loved the challenge, but I loved all of the challenge. I loved everything about the show. It was a great experience. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'm happy with what we did, and though it didn't work out for us. But.
Yeah, I just went for like size of builds and color when we were picking. It was just like, okay, the donut seemed to have some good mass, and the color of the crocodile seemed, more interesting than any of the other boats available to us at the time. And the other thing is that there was a lot of extra parts stuffed into the inside of all of these builds. So I think that's where like a lot of the additional elements kind of came from and supporting structure.
But you had no idea what was in there. So.
But yeah, you have no idea. Like it's a shell of a color with a bunch of stuff shoved inside, right?
It was a Lego Kinder Egg.
Yeah. Wait, you don't get those down there. Those are.
Well, no, they separate in half. We get the toy on one half and the. Anyway. But anyway.
Did y'all actually have to scrape up your own bricks? Because they made it look like you guys were just sitting there scraping all your bricks and picking them off the floor. Did y'all have to do that? Or
we picked up a few bricks, enough to get a good shot, and then somebody else came in with like a broom or something. I was like, yeah, okay, here you go, let's get it done. I will say this was the worst I've ever felt for a camera operator in my life. when they were like got the slow-mo camera set up with the special little macro lens, and it was trained directly on the submarine, and then the car just completely missed. And like where we were standing, you could see the monitor of the slow-mo camera that when they bring that out, you know that they're gonna like, oh, something cool is gonna happen here. And you could see the monitor, and it just like completely whipped. You didn't even see it like out of the corner of the frame. I felt so bad for that.
That was hilarious though.
I am not usually a fan of the gimmicky stuff. I mean, I know I'm a love-hate relationship with the show. I'm not usually a fan of the gimmicky stuff. But when they said they were closing the brick pit and making you only use the parts that were available in the 2 builds, I was 100% on board for this challenge, because to me, that's old school. And it doesn't even have to be old school. That can be, you know, you're 6 years old and you've been given a couple Lego sets, and those are the only pieces you get to work with. This was a true Lego challenge. This was a true Lego Master challenge.
It was the Simon draft on set. It was great.
Oh yeah, just fantastic, fantastic. Love it.
All right. So did you guys? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The one thing that I'm going to bring up, I might be cutting you off on this, but the twist halfway through of it gets to be in the game. I was absolutely horrified that the twist was going to be, and you have to use all the parts.
Oh,
yeah,
that would have been nuts.
Because it would not have been pretty at that point. It would not have been pretty.
No, you're just like shoving extra things on them. I mean, we built a pickup truck, so I could just build a clump and put it in the back, but like,
yeah.
So we saw on camera, like Emily's team was like, "Oh, there's a whole lot of plates in this thing." Was anyone else unpleasantly surprised by the part selection after they got their set?
Well, I mean, Alex and I were the opposite, unpleasantly surprised in that we didn't have any plates really. I think we had like just a couple handful of plates. We had a lot of 2x brick.
Yeah,
in our tan, and which was part of our challenge. You know, the way the show's edited, you don't see a lot of the thought process of why. And as somebody who's seen the show as you know, seasons 1, 2, and 3, a lot of times you're sitting there going, why don't they do this, or why don't they do that, or why don't they use this part? That's the right way to do it. And now being on it, you realize, you know, yeah, I thought about that too. There's a reason why we couldn't do that, unfortunately, or there's a reason why we didn't use those parts, because maybe they weren't in the brick pit, or there's a lot of things that go into it that doesn't get shown on the show. So we knew we were top heavy. We knew we wanted to go down. The reasons that we didn't, you know, so those things were not considered. It's just based on the limitations we had, whether it's the parts that we were given or the time or whatever. There's all kinds of factors that go into it. That we made the choices we made for better or for worse. But yeah, I was a little like, we had almost no snot bricks, very few plates for us. So as much as you think 2x4 bricks are going to be strong, and some, if I'm building a block or a cube or something strong, like where I can interlock everything, they can be very strong. But when you're trying to do a curved shape, it presents other challenges. So we knew our strategy. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but we were pretty sure, especially seeing what Christopher and Robert were doing, that we weren't going to be in the pole position, which was really the only thing you could get out of that race was pole position. At least that's what we originally thought. So our plan was to coast and kind of avoid traffic. The track did not allow for that, really. It did not go as we anticipated. Clearly.
Were you guys, was the first time you saw the track, was that did you get to see the track before the build, or like, okay, here's what you're running it on after you get it built?
Sam, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the drivers got to see the track for a couple laps right before. No, I don't remember.
We got one practice lap, but I think before that practice lap, we got to see like a printout visualization of what the track
which ended up not being very helpful at all.
Yeah, it was just like a rendering, and they were like, "All right, I'll figure it out."
The practice lap was not with the build, though, right? It was just like a generic car.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't. Yeah, would have destroyed your build. Yeah.
Did anybody between the groups? Did anybody actually like trade brick at all, or was that
No,
even allowed?
I don't think that was allowed.
Okay.
Right?
I actually
think that was allowed.
don't know. Like, benefit of hindsight, I should have just been like, "Hey guys, do you have one of these?"
Well, because I mean, if there's groups with lots of plates and groups with lots of bricks, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the fatigue.
I have a feeling that would not have been allowed. Maybe we knew that at the time that was not allowed. I don't think we did do it. So I imagine that was not allowed. I mean, I think that would have been kind of contrary to the point of the challenge, which is these are your two boats, make something out of them.
But it would have been friendly competition.
Yeah, and that to me, that thing goes into the shenanigans, the unknowns and everything. Somebody gets what seems to be an unfair disadvantage because all of a sudden you just got 2x4s and everything. You can't tell. So I know that's part of the challenge, and that's part of the what obstacle to overcome. But it becomes a difficult one with you don't have the bricks you need. Yeah. So that's the ups and downs, I think, in the challenge.
Personally,
in
ours, we had no like hinge bricks at all, which was something that we really, really wanted in order to get some kind of organic shaping. But we had just like the concave, like the like 2x4 plate with the pinhole.
Yep.
Like the up thing, we only had half of that bracket, I think. So that's why like the front of the roof of our truck is all built like studs in.
Yeah, okay.
Because we had all these like weird considerations of like these parts won't work, but like kind of gotta play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
So that was our big one.
And again,
then we also had.
This is exactly why this challenge for me was a true Lego Master challenge, because it made you have to do things that you weren't used to doing with a brick, and that's I mean, masochist or not or whatever. That's a full-on challenge. That is a full-on challenge.
All right. So let's go through the builds. We've been talking a lot, and this has been great conversation. But let's go through the builds. Lewis and Alex, this is up first. This is
actually,
yours.
you got them backwards because I have it to where you can show their two original builds first. So you probably got it sorted wrong. Go to the folder.
No.
Yes, go into that folder. Go to see episode 8.
I
now
did.
Start at the top.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Thanks, Dad. All right, there we go.
I just want to know what badonkadonk.mp4 is.
You weren't supposed to see that.
Oh no, I know what it is. I don't know if it'll play. Do you want to see if it'll play? Hang on. I'll look at it in a minute. That is Emily saying badonkadonk from the series episode 2 or whatever. But anyway, all right. So the donut cart and the crocodile boat. Nina and Sam, this is your build, the green machine. So there you can see the inverted plates there and everything. Talk to us real quick about this build. What do you guys think?
Crap. I don't even know what they were doing.
Yeah,
actually, I'm surprised that like you said, you didn't know what you had in there. And I go back a shot for a second. Let's look at the prior builds real fast. So you can tell by the tan thing, the monstrosity or whatever that was, so that the bulk of your body came from the regular bricks that were in there, and then your green was going to, of course, be your filler or your accent colors. But yeah, no, I mean, you worked with what you got. I mean, you achieved a truck.
Well, so
do we know where these initial models came from? Who built these first models?
I do know, but
you can't tell.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to. They said on the show that they were models that are currently available in the game. Was that a correct statement, or something along those lines?
I've played the game, and I can't say I've seen all of them, but maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that was what I think they said on the show. Whether that's true or not, but
you haven't micro paid to get those, so
you might have to. It's a digital download.
Emily said challenge team.
So
when this image went up, I was going to call it the mean green machine, but they went and put flowers on it, so I guess it's not very mean.
It's not really mean.
Yeah, no, it's the eco-friendly green machine.
The happy machine.
So we had two objects that were distinctly not real vehicles, right? Like we had a donut, and we had a crocodile. And a donut's not a car, and a crocodile's not a boat. So we're like, okay, well, if we're slamming these things together, we got to have something completely different than what we had originally. So let's actually go for a vehicle, like a truck. So that's why we went the like monster truck pickup route to make it like distinctly different than the other two vehicles, right? I don't know.
It looks solid. It looks
is
pretty.
Okay, so that's the other thing is that the challenge told us like you need to be solid. If it breaks on the course, like you I don't know what they said, but
Well, I do know exactly what they said because I verified it twice, knowing that we would struggle there. Initially, the only benefit from winning the race was you would get top 2 automatically.
Yeah.
The winner. The other 4 teams would have ended up just in the same in judging. That was it. It wasn't supposed to factor into the judging, but then I don't know. Then they said that it did. So,
Shenanigans.
Nah,
Shenanigans.
There's a lot of weirdness going on there, but they did say we don't want to see your thing fall apart if you have like if 50%.
Yeah, in order to cross the finish line, you had to have a like I think 50% of your build still attached.
Yeah. So
but there was no harm in not finishing other than you would not land in first place.
Correct. So like we on ours, this thing was built solid. We lost like a solar panel and like maybe a rear view mirror, but like the entire time that Christopher and Robert were like testing, I remember testing this thing and just driving up those little like the angled bits of the set that, you know, with those big gray pieces. I remember driving it up that just to let it fall over and just like watching it land and being like, yep, nope, still together. So at least I got the one shot of me like slapping the absolute bejeebus out of this thing.
Oh, that was I was going to mention this. Props to you for doing one of my favorite memes of the car salesman slapping the car. I was like, oh, Sam, perfect. I mean, I'm sure some people got it because I got it, but I totally got where you were coming from. Like, yes, this baby's got so much flower power in it.
Yeah. But can I say, the grief that they gave you about the solar panels, I was like, oh, come on. What are you talking about? I mean, he gave you some criticism on that.
I mean, they got to give some criticism. I mean, that's part of it. And then it also comes out to be the editing of what they do and don't show. And I mean, I don't think it would have made a difference whether there were flowers or not. I think it still looks, beefy and chunky and solar panels. And I actually like the whole reverse stud, the tubes on the bottom exposed. I think if you'd been able to do that through the whole thing, and that would have probably been a nice little touch too.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Good deal. All right. So great model here. Here we go. Blue hot rod and the jet black grave boat. Nothing disturbing about that. And we ended up with that.
The transformation they did I was very impressed. I didn't think their color palette was that great that they had to work with, and the way that they made this look attractive was impressive.
I don't think anyone would disagree that this rocked it more than any of the other builds by far. Like it was easily like they didn't even bother doing a top 2. Like it was just clearly like this was so far above everyone else's, I think. So this was an easy win, I think, for Christopher. Yeah. Not for them to do, but easy for them to be declared the winners. For sure.
No, I think that Chris is like a huge fan of these games, and that's all he's like. He's a huge Lego fan, obviously. Yeah. So as soon as they're like, your car's going to be in the game, Chris just, he's overclocked, but he kicked into overdrive. And he just went absolutely nut on this thing and knocked it out of the freaking park. Like this was an amazing build. Really,
let's talk about something. Those colors of hot pink and stuff like that, those were tucked in, and the fire and stuff for the most part must have been tucked inside because that's not here. I mean,
that's the stripe on that blue hot rod.
Yeah,
that's that magenta color there that it was used for the inside of the mouth of the car.
But it's amazing that he was able to pull out that much of it.
There may have been more. There may have been more inside stuff.
Yeah.
right, that's the thing, that they gave you these little bulk pieces, right? Like a lot of the sprinkles on top of the donut was what we used for the flowers, right? And they gave us a bunch more of those kind of like similar styled parts. And I think that's probably what was on the inside of that car.
Yeah, like I had a lot of extra 2x4 bricks stuffed inside my sub sandwich.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
My favorite, I mean, the overall build of this is phenomenal all the way around, and I don't know whether it was intentional or just worked out for them and their benefit, but the fact that they chose to use the black for the lower section of the shark really made it. I mean, because I think even Amy made a comment, or was Jamie's made a comment, that it makes the color portion separated from the chassis a little bit to almost look like the shark is floating, because it's not, there's such a, the black bottom is almost making it invisible to you. Your eye shifts away from the black and ignores the whole thing. So now you're just seeing this shark floating along through the air, flying like a rocket. To me, that was just a great design. Great design.
It was brilliant. They did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And if you've built a lot of 3-in-1 sets, then you have trained for this challenge right here.
So. I think that maybe you guys were talking about this. Maybe I was listening to another podcast, but they're talking about like, if you, viewer at home, is someone watching this and is thinking about going on Lego Masters, and you're like, what should I learn? This is kind of like a perfect example of the kind of stuff that they're looking for. And I remember talking to Mom on the plane ride down and being like, we should try to like go Lego movie inspired, just in terms of the like whimsy and creativity of what the build should look like. And this is like a perfect example of that, right? Like that kind of, you're doing something cartoony, but still like tough looking, but still, it kind of just hits all the right notes that I think they're really looking for. Like, this is a wonderful build. This is really,
well, that's kind of like Allison. It was Allison and Melanie. Was that?
Yeah.
Their builds often had that Lego movie vibe to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're right. No, that's a perfect example to tell people. Yeah.
But I think, again, not to blow too much smoke up Christopher's butt, but I think one of the things that's really impressive about them is how they can do this, but also do the pagoda, and also do, there's a lot of variety in their technique as well, which I thought is really impressive.
Yeah.
But
all right, here we go. Let's move on. The next one, the banana car and the pontoon boat, and here we go. Emily and Kelly's Stinger off-road vehicle.
First off, I actually like this vehicle the best. I don't know why, but it just looks so utilitarian, and like I almost had an Aliens vibe off of it.
I was about to say, this looks like a Space Marine Aliens vehicle.
It looks like an actual,
I am really surprised. I'm surprised, but at the same time, not surprised that there was never a Hummer reference. At any point.
If there was, it might have been cut, and it might have.
I was going to say
copyrighted, right?
And also, it just has to be said, banana phone. Okay,
it's a family show.
But
so I think it was originally a Humvee, but they told they couldn't. So yes, all right, perfect.
There you go.
Explains everything.
All right, so what?
I think it's a lot of fun, and I agree with Sam. It looks like an actual, drone or rover that they might use in the military that they kind of decorate to look like a bee, and that gets that nickname vehicle because it looks like it could be a real thing.
Yep. Yeah, and it was, and I know that Amy dinged him about she wanted more yellow stripes, and depending on the pieces, I think you still got the whole bee feel, the wings, the face on the thing is adorable. I mean, it is cute. It's like a B-52 bomber with a painted lady on the side. It just says to you, we're here to kill you, but put a smile on your face at the same time. So
a B-52 bomber.
See, look at I'm not even trying. I'm here all week. I'm here every Monday and Thursday.
Try the raccoon.
Size of raccoons, but yeah.
So in this, I am noticing though they had to pivot at some point. They were struggling They did have a lot of Kirby pieces available, it looks like, to them, and then they had to pivot hard to get where they got and everything. And
I don't know if those
kudos
are
for them
Kirby pieces or plates, Chris. Go back there a second.
Those are yeah, I guess they're plates. So there's some curves on there though.
Yeah, but the top part,
There's a lot
right?
of the curve breakers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Probably
curve
not
breakers.
enough to achieve what they were wanting to do. So
Right.
That was similar to
Hey.
our red vehicle, where we thought we were going to have a lot of red parts to play with, and it was a lot of those curved bricks that are great for accents, but not as great structurally. So they may have had the same similar challenge. So why I think they did so much gray.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not the curves you want.
Oh, let's move from that one.
Yeah.
Not going to get in trouble.
Nope. All right, and then here we go. Sorry, my internet must be. White sports car and the brown boat became the Swamp Road vehicle. So, what do you think about this?
Now, I got to say, the first thing that doesn't show you on this static image, this angle, is the frog, which I think was the nice addition that they added to it, because it gave them some color that you really don't see in this shot, and it does seem like it's way too much brown. That if they had even done more color into it, would have probably helped them. I mean, it's a solid build, but more color would have been good.
Yeah, but there probably wasn't a lot of white brick in that build in the car.
Or even adding white to it. And I mean, it was just so overwhelmingly brown.
Yeah.
And we get the frog, but it's in the back. You know,
it speaks to the point of the competition we're at, because I think I was just exhausted at this point, and I had there's a point before the pivot where there's like puppy ears on their car.
Oh, so they were going for okay. It would have been more of like a Dumb and Dumber vehicle, which would make sense if they were going with all brown.
Yeah, and I think that my brain just thought that was what their vehicle was the entire time, and I completely forgot about it until rewatch, like when we actually got to watch the episode. So, like, this is really good. I think that the similar thing happened with actually Tim and Tim's Cat House. I think I texted you guys about that one when I saw it on screen for the first time, and being like, "Oh, actually, hey, look at that." Because I just like completely forget about a lot of these things until I see it on TV. But
believe me, I totally forgot everything.
But I really like the slight detailing of the 1x1 plate on the side.
Yes.
Like I feel like that just hits the right notes of that kind of like bayou swampy kind of borderline tiki kind of feel. Right? I don't really know what the best way of describing that is, but
I see them right around here every day.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this was really good. I like the frog. I think it worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
It seemed to me, a little disjointed. Like the frog was like, oh, we got to put a frog on it, kind of thing.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I
know that. So I don't think it was blended in the design as much. So
yeah. But again, time, and again, we always say this: we're not there. We're arm sharing this, and as Sam's pointing out, this is late in the game, so you guys it's starting to wear on you. We know that.
I think
go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
Sam.
Yeah. No, I thought that at this point in the challenge, I think we're all a little worn out.
Yeah.
And I think this is pretty evident in I'm going to say 4 out of 5 of these builds. Christopher and Rob just went crazy, and everybody else you can tell is just a little tired. It kind of is what it is at this point, and that's no excuse. But this is just even more.
What do we get for this, Sam? We got 10 hours for this one, right?
You got 8.
8. Well, you didn't. They had to take out the time because you weren't having to run back and forth to the brick pit.
True.
Yeah.
Well, but I'll say this instead. Actually, a lot of the time, and I don't know if Sam did the same, but I know several of us did. You still got to sort through all those parts once you get them, and that takes time. You got to see what you have, and organize it to some degree. So that's time that's basically equitable to the brick pit running back and forth time.
There was a sorting part to this. Sign me up.
Yeah.
We could have used you that.
Lego.
All right. Red Race Cars Submarine Sandwich. Here it is. Lewis and Alex, the Croqueta Mover. Talk to us about this, Lewis.
So, we want to do something really fun and whimsical. I definitely had the Oscar Mayer wiener truck in mind when we did this. Alex and I wanted to do something specifically for our kids. We had been wanting to, and we thought this was the best opportunity because they like to play, with video games. They're young. They find these kinds of things funny. So we want to do something that called to home. So we're happy with it. I feel like it was really good in terms of something that would fit in the video game well. Unfortunately, I think if I had any something I wish had been different, we never got. It never occurred to It never occurred to Alex or I that this was similar to the sub. Just never crossed our mind. And I wish Amy and Jamie had called us on that, and said, "Hey, this is looking like the sub." They didn't mention that, unfortunately, and we didn't think about it. Never crossed our mind. So that's on us for not seeing that. Maybe that's part of the whole being tired. Kind of thing, but
looking at this picture, I don't see it either. I see something totally different. I
wish you'd been judging, Tim.
Yeah, I would have been different.
Yeah. So it's just it was our time, but it's unfortunate. But those other good builds, so we just had to we did the best we could, and we're proud of it. We had fun, and our kids loved it. Although Alex did say earlier today that his son said it was good, but Christopher's was way better, Dad. So, so I think it's fair. It's fair.
That's a common theme amongst children of other contestants, eh?
Kids love crapping on their parents. That's a sad, unfortunate fact. But it is. You will find out one day, Sam.
No, my cats hated our build too. So.
So when did y'all find out about the video game twist? Because it shows it kind of at the end, I guess, of the judging. Is that right on the show? It
was about midway through, I think, Sam. I don't know.
I
will say this: I just intuited that was going to be the case. I mean, it just seemed like a no-brainer as a downloadable. What I thought was actually going to happen is that all of them would be in there, eventually, but. The fact that it was a reward made sense, and it was not much more, sought after reward to win. So, like halfway through.
Christopher's won over Emily's kid. That's hilarious.
One thing that I got to mention, and this is my favorite part, that I won from this episode. Well, later, but I got this, which is
that's the one from the set.
This is the one from the set. This is the percolator that Lewis and Alex made their little cafecitos in.
Alex. I have to give Alex full credit for that.
Well, Alex then, yeah. So every day they would make coffee in this thing, and there's a couple episodes where it was on set, but it was every morning off camera. We'd be getting a little cafecito from Alex. We had these little tiny cups. It was amazing. It was
we had it set up in the green room.
Far and away the best coffee I had while I was down there. So
that's where I went wrong. I never had it because I'm not a coffee drinker. I should have tried it. We would have been longer there.
Yeah. Where did Robert recently say? Or Christopher recently said that Robert said it was the best coffee he's ever had. He said it's one of these. That's the best coffee he ever had. So that's high praise for Alex. Alex did a great job with the coffee.
I feel like Christopher might have been saying that.
Will had coffee a couple times.
Yeah,
and I think we even shared some of his coffee with you, not in the best way. Wasn't it with you guys where he lost his coffee?
No.
He did it with somebody, right? He's like, "Oh, this is terrible," joking around. Right? I thought it was you guys. I thought it was the San Menino.
Maybe it didn't end on our breaks. Maybe we were two in the moment. We were just like, okay, whatever.
Or maybe he didn't. Maybe from my side, maybe he didn't actually do it, and it looked like he did.
Maybe he spat it on the rug, and I was just too in the zone.
Emily loved Alex's coffee, by the way.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be caffeinated, does she?
She probably got a port that she just slaps it and the caffeine's pumping. So I don't know.
No, actually, I'm being sarcastic. She hated it. She hates coffee. She just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, like, nasty, she says. But yeah, she refused to have any coffee, and it's probably a good thing for the rest of us that she didn't.
Seriously, the whole world is better off that she doesn't like coffee.
Because that stuff
about
is
coffee
jet
being
fuel.
nasty.
That stuff is jet fuel. So it's Emily on Cuban coffee is probably not a good idea.
Oh yeah, no.
So I will say,
so it was a kind of a neat moment. And now they did something unusual. They went ahead and just kind of clear called the winner. They didn't make a top two. They didn't make the bottom two. Lewis, you guys were in it. Emily,
There was a bottom two.
huh?
There was a bottom two.
Jill
and Emily were the other team in the bottom two.
Yeah, I was going to say they didn't do a top. They didn't do a top two. They did do a bottom two, and it was Lewis and it was Emily's team in the bottom two. And unfortunately, you guys had to go home, Lewis. And there are a lot of us who you guys were in our like, hey, I think they're going to make it to top three kind of thing because you guys were killing it. You guys did a great job, and
I shed a tear or two when I saw him go home.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Coffee has Emily in the mornings.
That's funny. That makes sense.
Yeah. But I think the best moment on the show was when Christopher again slips out of character because all of a sudden he's overwhelmed with the fact that his build is going to be in a video game that he loves, and he dropped that moment. It's like, I don't win this thing. This is the best moment ever, or whatever. So it's kind of nice to see the real Christopher show up on camera yet again, which dude's playing the part really well in the show. So props to him for that. But it was a touching moment for him.
I'm personally, I mean, I get it, but I'm, tired of seeing comments here and there about his character and how people may or may not like it. So I'll just say this: Christopher and Robert are both amazingly good guys. The fact that we all love them as a castmates, I think, speaks to that. He's in character for 5 minutes out of 10 hours, and they're showing all of that on the edit, which is their choice, and I think it's funny, and a lot of people like it, but some people don't. But despite what Emily says, he's a great guy. We all love him, and I have a feeling like if I had to nominate anyone as being like, if anybody needed something from a former Lego Master contestant, that's the first guy who would say yes, I think. We had a moment that I can't talk about, so Sam, don't. And I've been told not to talk about this, so I won't. But there was a moment on one of the episodes where something happened that anybody else would rightfully be upset, annoyed, frustrated, and stressed about. And Christopher and Robert were nothing but nice about it, kind about it, graceful about it from the first second it happened. And that speaks a lot to the kind of quality of person that they are. So for those people who are annoyed with the character, just know he's having fun. He's definitely not like that all the time. He's a great guy, and he was just having fun with that character. And we were not exposed to it all the time. Out of 10 hours, he's like that for 5 minutes, so it didn't bother us in the least. At least not me or Alex. So
I will say that they have grown on me as the semester. Oh boy, the season.
Okay, Professor.
And the first episode, I was inclined that I thought, okay, they're being set up as the villains, and I was like, I don't know about these people. But every episode, I'm steadily appreciating their building skill, and they actually seem like they're just having a lot of fun.
I will say this, and I don't know, Sam, you may know something more than I do. I don't think they were set up to be the villain. I think
that's what I was going to say. I'm going to
chose that role for himself.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm going to throw this out there.
Ran with it. But
I'm telling you, that was my initial impression. Was that?
Yeah, I don't think it was. It wasn't a scripted thing. It wasn't something that the show pushed him to do. Right. I think he was having fun with that, and it evolved. I think over time. Maybe it wasn't even intentionally planned early on, but maybe there was a hint of that, and he ran with it. I don't know. But I don't think it wasn't planted that way.
I'm going to throw this out there. So what? I don't know. I didn't remember. Maybe it was the Cat House. One of the times Will came to talk to Tim and I, which never made it on air ever, but he said he had us, or I did an evil laugh. He said something, and I was terrible. And he said, I said something about, oh, I'm a grandpa, so I guess I can't be evil. And he said, yeah, you're right. So he went immediately. Christopher and Robert were not right next to us that episode, and he went over there. And of course, then Christopher did that laugh, and it went from there on. But I got the chance first to be the villain.
I think
You blew it.
I did blow it.
Tim, I'm sorry, but you could not have pulled that off in a million years. You're just
No, and it was very evident right away.
nice.
I think it was
Actually,
the first
I will say-
episode.
Oh,
The
go
first
ahead.
time we were on set, we were all walking in, and we were getting there. Like before the doors even opened, we were walking across the parking lot to the set, and I remember Christopher was like this. He was like ready to go, and I remember just thinking like who is this dude? Like what is going on? And then it's only like a couple of episodes in when he kept like doing this, kept having this little like kayfabe about him when he was like on set and doing the thing. And then I was like, it took me a couple of days too to like get the joke, but like he's doing a bit and he's doing it for himself. And like the evil thing, sure, the like superhero thing, like yeah, maybe a little bit, like whatever the edit was, it was gonna be something. And then as soon as you talk to him when he's like not on, and you get to know the real guy, and then it honestly makes a lot of his YouTube content a lot more enjoyable too, because like he'll post videos, and if you know him, you realize how much of a joke a lot of it can be, and it's great. It's great all the time. It's there's some layers to the whole thing too.
My take was it was almost like when, and Tim's story adds to this, that when Will came to him and asked for the evil laugh, it was almost like Christopher there's that moment in his mind that he's probably like, oh my God, thank you for giving me this opportunity to just break it out and go down this direction. I mean, if he had asked somebody else to be this, he probably would have been like, oh, that should have been me. You know? Yeah. And the fact that he just took it and ran with it was perfect.
Yeah. So I'll tell a story just to speak to how Tim could never have been the villain. One of my favorite moments on the show, I knew we got along great, all of us, I think pretty much right off the bat. And I knew Tim was a really good guy. So funny enough, Tim, the shoes that I would wear to go to set, my sneakers, happened to be the same sneakers that Tim wore on set. Now, I'm a size 10. Tim's a size, 13, I think it was?
Yeah.
So one morning I see Tim getting his wardrobe and he's setting it aside, getting ready to change. And I decided to go get my sneakers and swap them for his sneakers. I have a whole video. It's like 5 minutes long of Tim being a champ and trying 4 or 5 solid minutes to get those on. He manages to get one shoe on.
Well, that's why I never figured it out.
He puts his head down in defeat. Yeah, he puts his head down in defeat on the right one. He just like can't. And I see him staring at his feet. That's why I had to let him off the hook. But it's a good 3-minute video, and I'm dying after the whole time. And I woke up. I go, Tim, what's wrong? He goes, I don't know. I think my feet swelled up last night. That was just like the perfect line. And I was just dying of laughter. I had so much fun with that, and he was a sport about the whole thing. I hope I can post that on my Instagram eventually. I'm sure I will. But
I was honored you thought enough of me to do it.
I love you, and I definitely felt very comfortable pulling that prank on you.
Oh, trust me, if there's anything about your comrades giving you grief that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, I wish I didn't like these guys so much some days. Where is it?
Phil Rover. So, all right. So let's before we go, we can't. The elephant in the room is the actual race and the yelling of. Let's just all say it together. Yelling of. Can we hear that story? Because I think it's hilarious that in all of your interviews, y'all were making fun of that moment, which makes it more endearing and real and everything.
I don't think there's much story there. It's exactly what happened. She was freaking out at Christopher the whole race.
She was
And
freaking
before
out,
the race, she was telling
and
me.
before the race. But it was
Yeah.
also sorry. I think Emily was freaking out more before the race and during the race, I guess.
The whole
But
time.
Nolita was freaking out during the race. Nolita was on a whole different level too, but like she was right behind me when we got under the thing, and I'm trying to like narrowly go through it, and Nolita is standing right next to me, just like yelling, like, "Move! What are you doing?" Like the most road rage at everybody else. Emily's was specifically targeted for Crystal.
Well, Neolita can have some road rage. My favorite Neolita moment was, I guess her and Paul must have been having a moment in one of the earlier challenges, and I'm walking by to the brick pit, and I see her we had a little hammer that they give us to help pound down bricks, and I see her on her little work table behind the main table, the little shelf that we have, and she's just pounding on it with a hammer. I'm like, Neolita, what are you doing? She goes, I'm just picturing my brother's face right now. And she was just going at it for a while. I was like, all right, noted. So they had their moments. So she's intense when she wants to be.
Well, and the fact that she's a driving instructor, let's just go ahead and put that down. And
yeah,
I mean, she's dealing with a lot of stress on her day to day. So if she's frustrated with her brother, that tells you how much he pushed her.
I love it.
Well, I remember the first challenge that they had to drive the boat. Paul drove it, right, Sam? I think it was Paul, and he didn't do a good job. And after she's like, "I'm a driving instructor. I should have been driving." They didn't show that in the edit, but it was pretty funny. Like, I'm like, "Well, why didn't you drive from the beginning?" She's like, "I know. Good question."
Yeah, no,
that's
right.
awesome. All right, so Lewis, we hated to see you guys go. After your teammate basically puts it all out there for the last episode, going home this time. Did you guys get the normal, just kind of a quick goodbye, or did you guys? And it's getting tougher and tougher. I'm sure it's getting tougher and tougher for you to see a friend go and all that kind of thing. So talk about those emotions real fast.
Yeah, it's tough. It's strange. In the edit, they showed us, like, I think I shook Sam's hand and that was it. But no, it was just as hard as all the other ones. For us, obviously, it was hard. But you go really close to all of them. Sam and I had a little rivalry going on, but I love Sam, and that's all for fun. And I love everybody there. It's amazing that you have 24 contestants, and I love all of them. So it was definitely hard to go. It was hard.
Yeah.
But again, I don't regret it. I don't. It's one of the funnest things I've ever done. It's not a perfect thing where there's things that you wish be a little different. Obviously, I wish I hadn't gone home or with this or that. But there's nothing about that experience that I would change or wish was. It was perfect, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. And if anyone's thinking about it or is worried about this or that, it's fun. It's fun. You get to hang out with your friends. You're in adult fantasy camp for a long time. Even if you go home early, you're still there for quite a while. So I think it's just an amazing experience. I recommend it to everybody.
Who taught your classes while you were gone?
So that's a good question. That was a challenge. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
There was a lot of back and forth with the school, with the faculty. Faculty had one opinion about whether we should do the show. Administration had another opinion. Luckily, the president of the school, I think, he came down in the end and came down on our side. I don't know exactly how that went down, but it wasn't easy. I personally, I co-teach one of my classes because it's very hands-on. So that was easy. So I let my buddy, he's a friend of mine, teach that class. My other class, I teach a bit introduction to business class, and then there's a teacher that teaches ninth grade through senior business classes. And luckily that period he had available. So I'm like, can you cover for me for this period? And he took over. And Alex's, I think, was a little more challenging because I have 8th grade electives. Alex has some higher level classes. Just a lot of prep work, preparing lesson plans and videos and getting things ready. And Alex, I didn't have to do that because of the type of classes that I teach, but Alex had to do a lot of work while there, grading papers and doing stuff like that. So, challenge. We're very appreciative to the school for letting us do that, because I know it was not an easy decision for them. But I do it again. Repeat.
Yeah.
Whether they let me or not, I will do it again. So.
Cool. All right. So next week is Roller Coaster Challenge, which would but we have real American Thanksgiving on Thursday, so they're repeating a show.
The one where we go home.
Number 4.
I think they're showing the sound episode 4 again.
Okay. Yep. All right. That's good. It's a good episode as well. So we're showing that.
See me shed a tear again.
There you go. That's right. That's right. So we will be back. We'll be back on Monday. Afterwards, we'll just have a messy Monday or whatever's going on, or we might have a few of you guys in to talk about the show, and then we will continue on with this. Thursday, we'll have a hangout together. You guys are welcome to join us on Thursday at 8 for our normal goofy Lego show. We'll probably talk about new releases and other Lego news that's coming out. So thank you for being here. Lewis, thank you for hanging out with us. Sam, good to have you back.
Anytime.
And you are the 25% Canadian on the show. So Jeff's got something to say. Hang on.
Right, are you doing an episode on Thursday? Isn't that like your fake Thanksgiving?
Not that Thursday. No, you're correct. We are not doing it that Thursday.
He meant to follow. It was. Thank you for asking for the clarification, because I was going to ask for the clarification because it sounded like we were going to be talking about sets and having a messy Monday on this Thursday, but no, there will not be a show this Thursday. So for any of you catching in, tuning in now towards whatever, there will be no show this Thursday.
For the tens of you watching at the moment, we will not be on the air on Thursday. So
we got a lot of people who watch the show later, and they want to know this stuff.
But if you're going to withdraw, Jeff will have a show on Wednesday.
Yes,
that's true.
So Canadian Brick Builders, that's your show. If you're going to go through withdrawal on Thursday, go hit Jeff's show.
That's right. Anyway, thank y'all for being here. Thanks for joining us. You guys be awesome and build awesome, everybody. Good night. Have a great